Can you talk a little bit about lead generation, prospecting, for business versus uh, commercial residential real estate? Is it
Yeah, sure.
the same principle? Really knocking the door, or boot on the ground?
Yeah, there's a lot of ways of doing it. There's a lot of ways. So boots on the ground, walking into retail stores, you go down to Main Street USA and just walk into one store after the next. Many of those stores, unless they're national chains, like you're not going to walk into Urban Outfitters or Banana Republic or something, and because the manager there does not own it. Those are publicly held companies. But any private store, privately owned business, you can walk in, you could talk to the owner, because typically those stores are owner operated. And one of the questions you ask them is, hey, what's your exit strategy? Do you have one? Or how much longer have you thought about, how much longer you want to work in your business? And especially if they have, gray hair. I mean, there are a lot of older baby boomers that built up businesses over 30, 40 years that went out, and their kids don't want the businesses. And so they need, the only way they're going to get out without just cutting off their marketing, closing the doors and walking away, is if they sell to a third party. So sometimes they're selling to a management, to an employee, or to a manager that's an employee management group, depending on the size of the business. But, the majority of the time, they're actually selling to third party. And that's where, brokers come in, is we can help them package it. We can analyze their business, tell them what their current value is. If they have a target value in mind, their business may not be ready to sell. They may tell you, yeah, I need 2 million for the business, and maybe the business only worth $1.2 million. Yeah, okay. Well, over the next year, probably 18 months to 2 years, if you can do some things in the business to grow that, we can probably get you 2 million in a couple of years from now, but you're not there right now. So, there are things, value drivers, that affect business value. And one of the most important value drivers is actually the books and records. The cleaner the books and records, the higher the value the business is going to have. So where we talked before about mitigating taxes, if a business owner wants to sell their business, then they need to make sure that they pay taxes for 3 years. Stop running all the nonsense through the business. Stop treating it like your personal piggy bank. Treat it like a business. Pay your taxes for 3 years straight, because you're going to get a look, they're throwing expenses through there that are personal expenses so they can save 30 cents or 40 cents, but it's costing them maybe 2.5 to 3 times that, depending on the value of the business. But so the 40 cents that they save in 3 years, they saved $1.20, but it's costing them $2.50 in the sale. So just pay the taxes for the 3 years so that you can show clean books and records, because that does 2 things. When a business has clean books and records, buyers automatically relax a little bit. It's a lower risk. It's like, wow, they're running the business like a business, that I can understand the books and records. And if they're straight up, then that means the management is, probably everything else is straight up, right? So if the business owner has clean books and records, then the rest of the business operation is probably going to be pretty well organized in a buyer's mind. That may not be the case, but that's what the buyer thinks. Whereas when the business records are such that they've got 32 different ad backs, and it takes a forensic accountant to figure out what the actual SDE is, then a buyer saying, okay, this seller was super squirrely. And I'm going to have to lift up and look under every single rock to figure out what the heck it is I'm buying here. Right? So, pay the taxes, get the books and records clean. It's going to increase the value of the business every time. Second thing is businesses that are owner centric, meaning the owner is the business. It's a problem. So, because when the owner leaves, so does most of the business value, because it's all up in his head. So what you're selling when you're selling a business is not just business value, it's transferable value. So you have to always look at and talk to the seller about, well, what's left when you leave? So if the business owner is the one doing all the business development, the one doing, let's say in a design firm, the one doing all the design, or in an architecture firm, the one that is the architect and has the only architect license, or electrical contractor. Yes, they have some guys that come to jobs with them, but they're the only one that has the contractor's license. It becomes difficult to sell those because they are the business. And when they walk, most of that walks with them. Okay. You're on mute, Summer.
Yeah. What was the second thing you said? Talk to them, ask them about their exit strategy.
Yeah.
If you have one. What was the second?
Or how much longer you want to work in your business?
Okay. Yeah.
Because, and the answer to that almost every time is going to be 5 years. And then if you don't do anything and you ask them 2 years later, say, hey, haven't seen you in a while, hey, how much longer you want to work in your business? 5 years. It's always going to be 5 years. Unless and until they start taking steps towards that exit. So my follow-up question, when I say, hey, how much longer you want to be working in your business, and they say 5 years, I say, oh, well, what steps are you taking, or have you already taken to prepare your business for sale? Awesome. Or to prepare for your exit? What steps have you taken to prepare for your exit, or to start preparing for your exit? And then a lot of times what they'll say to you there is they'll say, well, what do you mean? Then it's like, well, if you want to exit in 5 years, there are some things you're going to need to do during that 5-year period of time to make sure that your business is ready to be transferred to somebody else, because otherwise that 5 years is going to extend to 10 and to 15 and to 20. Yeah, exactly. Or you're going to get burned out and you're just going to close the doors and walk away and not be able to monetize all your years of effort and energy and work in this business. That's the final follow-up question. How soon do you need to involve the landlord in the process of selling the business? So some landlords, have you ever seen landlords that say no? We're not gonna do it. Still have 5 years left and you better stay? No, they haven't said it that way. I've had transactions before where the landlord would not provide a lease, other than month to month. They were just like, no, we'll give you month to month. Or if you want a lease, well, we'll give you a 2-year lease, but we want $50,000 in key money. So, which makes it untenable for the buyer. So yeah, I have had that happen. Landlords can be deal killers. However, in general, I don't want to involve a landlord until I know that I have a buyer who's going to move forward. So I usually don't have anybody contact the landlord until the financial due diligence is pretty much done. And I've had conversations with buyer has seen what they need to see and is ready to sign off on the due diligence contingency. So looks like I'm gonna go to commercial. Awesome. Welcome.